Welcome, everyone. We are so glad that you are joining us today. I'm very excited to introduce our special guest today, Amelia Vogler. Amelia Vogler is a grounding and energy medicine specialist and an internationally respected teacher of energy medicine. In her 15-year career, she's helped over 7,000 individuals worldwide repattern self-limiting negative beliefs through her grounding practices, intuitive insight, in advanced energy medicine. Amelia, welcome. It's such an honor to have you here.
Oh, blessings. Thank you so much. Hello. Welcome to this co-created space. All of you who are joining from wherever you are, whenever you're joining, I'm so happy to be here and so happy you're with me.
Yeah, so I am excited for this topic. I really want to dive in and first ask you what really guided you towards this system of teaching, towards your calling?
Well, I grew up in a funeral home. I grew up going and as a little child, kind of peering over the caskets of those who have been departed and kind of listening to their messages from beyond, messages that kind of drew me back into, wow, life is precious. Our bodies are precious. Who we are, how do we nurture that? How do we explore that? What are the many dimensions that we walk in? And I think because I grew up a very sensitive child, I also was one of those see energy, hear energy, feel energy, kind of walk all those different senses, between being offered this real reminder that every moment is precious and wanting to be curious about how to live that deeply with these skills. I think I was just on ramped into this work.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, I can relate to that. When I look back, whenever I'm asked that question, I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel like since birth, but I didn't become aware that I was until a certain, right? Beautiful. Well, I'm excited because, you work with sort of a different dimension or through a certain dimension as your home base for your healing work. So coming to that, right, this next topic, how do you know when an issue is in the Hara, right? We're talking about the Hara dimension versus the chakra system.
Oh, I love that question. And maybe it would be all right if I backed up and just sort of shared what the Hara system is, because you sort of teased that, but that we are, of course, multidimensional beings. We have all these different systems that make up our energy, the wholeness of our energy. So the meridians, the nadis, the chakra system, the core light dimension. And then there's the Hara. The Hara is the system of the soul. It's the system that helps us be here and become here. It helps us literally get embodied. And it is the system that helps us carry all of those, lifetimes before soul lessons and kind of we bring them in with us. And it's sort of the library, if you want to think of it that way, of our soul. And so to answer your question, how do we know when we're in soul or when we're in another system? So if you think about and I'm going to be simplifying, so we just have to put that big disclaimer up because we don't have 5 days to talk about it, but the nadi system's deeply rooted in our nervous system. The meridian system really innervates our organ systems. And then the chakra systems allow us to really work with our issues, like how are we in this world, this polar world with all this duality and all the crap that comes up around that. That's the chakra system, those open doors that help us manage how to bring ourselves out to the world and how to manage like this big whole world and as it relates to our deepest self. Now, the Hara system, I think, is fascinating because this is where we start picking up patterns that we've been lugging around and carrying around lifetime after lifetime, or that have gotten sort of amplified because of our life conditions, the family of origin we've chosen, the cultural systems that we're in right now, what our access is to resources, what sort of power systems exist around us. It's kind of how we show up within those, which manifest in patterns like, am I safe? Can I be here? Is it okay and safe for me to be in my body? Am I lovable? Many patterns have to do with belonging, the sense of being worthy. Am I worthy of love? Do I feel okay? Do I feel connected to my spiritual purpose, my longings? Do I feel connected to spirit? Not just like, can I hear spirit? But like, if you think about trauma, and one of the reactions to trauma is, God, why did you abandon me? That's a big soul issue that we see. So those are the sort of issues and patterns that you start picking up in the Hara, and you see them in that great spiral that we're all walking together. So it's like you start looking back at your life and going, gosh, did I marry my dad? Because this guy has the same issues, or did I marry my mother? Because I'm starting to see these repeated patterns over and over and over that help me kind of grow myself as a spirit.
Wow, that is really, really, really deep. So my question is, right, when we're talking about the Hara and how you say that it's really provides, as you said, like the incarnation kind of template for
Mhm.
your soul and holds the keys to your healing and your ancestral code. How does that relate to, like for some people, they work with Akashic records or whatever. How is that in relationship?
Oh, what a cool question. And, it's conversations like these that we can dive a little deeper into the Hara. So, to best answer this, I think it would be helpful to just look briefly at the anatomy of the system. It has, and again, this is just one short call. So, pause it, take a couple notes, write the words down. We're going to go from kind of our essence all the way down our system. So, there's sort of a spiritual star. Some people call it the ninth chakra, wherein our soul codes lie. Our numerology, our astrology, our Akashic records lie there. Our book of life lies there. All the sacred geometry that's going to make us up before we came here exist in one of the nodes of the Hara. And so we come down, and then there's a node of spiritual purpose. So first we get our architecture, then we get the purpose, our spiritual purpose for this lifetime, which, by the way, isn't like a vocation. It has to do with what are our values and what do we long to do. Once we get sort of our mission in life, we then get the template for our physical body. How are we going to embody in the soma, in the wholeness of our beingness, our spiritual purpose and the codes of who we are? Continuing down, there's like a secondary node in the Hara that has to do with our connection to our ancestry. And then, of course, there's our connection to the planet. So in a wide sort of brush stroke, where we go to look for the Akashic records actually sits in the system of the Hara. So it's embedded in there, to answer your question. It's just one small piece. And I started doing Akashic record reading like a long time ago, before, as I was kind of developing my awareness of this system. Suddenly I would be kind of brought into a glass house, and on the walls of each, I could walk into each room of that glass house, and on it was sort of projected a lifetime or a story or some information. And I could look around and look through into different rooms. And it was just a way of doing channeling and doing readings. I don't really do that type of work anymore, but it's, kind of deep in the way that I see issues arrive. Because on one wall, I might see a pattern, and on another, I might see the same pattern. And so then we start seeing the relationship. But in any case, that was such a cool question. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I am someone that works with ninth chakra. I mean, I work usually kind of my home base, 12 chakras. So as soon as you were, bringing that perspective, of Hara into that, I immediately connected to ninth for me. So thank you for helping us better understand, how that integrates into the overall, system. That's very, very helpful. So with this work, right, with really kind of going to the foundation, working on this dimension of ourselves, which it makes sense, right? If this is what's holding, like you said, and I love how you talked about, don't look at what we come here to do, our sole purpose as a vocation. Man, if we could just get that wrapped around our minds, I feel like we'd be, a little bit more at ease. Like, oh, what's my new job? But for you, because this is foundational, can you give us an experience of anchoring in to this dimension, this Hara dimension?
Yes, I would love to. I would absolutely love to. Now, I'd like to share again sort of the placement of those anatomies, just so you have, let's track together, because we are sort of soma and soul. We are a being of wholeness that includes our environment, our the institutions around us, the 3 billion years of history that we carry within us, our ancestral lines. So remember how big we are as we enter into this practice, because this is not a practice of kind of our singular being. It's a practice of coming into the wholeness of who we are. And what's so beautiful about coming into that wholeness is it really bypasses, when we get grounded in it, it bypasses what I might call our trauma memories. And it allows us to sink into who we really are. And that's, sort of a disclaimer around the practice, because we could think, oh God, am I going to go ground in 3 billion years of suffering? No, this is going to allow us to come into our home. And so, to revisit that anatomy of the nodes, the first one we talked about being above the head. The second one being here at the soul seat area in the upper chest around the space of the thymus. The third node in the Hara is about 3 inches below the belly button, 2 or 3 inches. It's our true center of our body. So if you were to stand and hold that area, you would be really engaging with the center of yourself. In some martial arts traditions or Qigong healing, this is known as the lower dantian, the seat or well of our vitality. So even when we talk about the Hara as a spiritual dimension of ourselves, we see evidence of people tapping into this energy dimension cross-culturally and historically. So what we're going to do is let's start with just kind of be in yourself. Relax into that being that is you. Notice what you notice. There's no agenda here. There never is in healing. I never want to dictate the path in which we're going. It's never my job to say, this is what your truth looks like. We're kind of tapping into you and your truth. So in this moment, what is that for you? Are you tired? Are you feeling sluggish? Notice how your feet feel on the floor. Notice how your legs feel, your hips. Like, how do you occupy the space of your body? And when we say, how do you occupy? What does that mean, you? Just asking these bigger questions to get in touch with the soul of you. Now I've got my eyes closed because I track a little better. You can do that, or you can keep your eyes open. I'm not going to be doing anything with my hands except for probably waving them around just because I talk with my hands. So let's find ourselves to settling, calling that you are evolving as, that you're learning as, calling both you and the potential of who you are. And maybe stop even right there and notice how different it feels from when you were just first settling, calling forth that beingness of who you are. This in and of itself, an amazing practice. Now using your intention or your attention, bringing your awareness to that little ball of light in the lower abdomen, 2 or 3 inches below the belly button, that center of yourself. Notice what that's like, just to become aware of and in touch with your center. No special breathing practice is needed, just breath. Now, under the presence of your intention and your attention, allowing the awareness in that little ball of light in the lower abdomen, allow it to grow just a little bit stronger, brighter, even if it's like 0.5% more. Just that little pulse that says, oh, connected to that. And then allowing it by intention or visualization or imagination, imagining it rivering 2 rivers of light flowing down each hip and thigh, knee, down the lower legs, out the bottoms of the feet, flowing down past the ground beneath you, down past the underground riverways, past the bedrocks, past the lava fields, deep to the beautiful center of this spectacular planet, the heart of Mother Earth, the crystalline core. Visualizing, imagining, sensing, feeling, experiencing those lines of light coming down to that beautiful crystal in the center of the earth. Watching as it remembers you. Oh, look, it's you. I dreamed you here. You're a part of my fabric, part of this great unfolding that is life in this moment. Oh, welcome. Welcome home. Welcome back. Acknowledging that welcome and reconnecting, connecting again intentionally to your relationship with the heart of Mother Earth. Visualizing, experiencing, feeling, sensing how that crystalline light blends and merges and becomes one with your own. And then, as if sipping up from a straw, beginning to sip that blended energy up. Notice, just take a moment, notice what even that's like, just beginning to sip that energy back up. Notice if the feet feel heavy, if the body starts moving, allowing that energy to come back up, crystalline light flowing back up past the lava fields and the underground riverways and the bedrock, past the ground and back into the bottoms of the feet. Let's pause there a minute. Notice what you notice. Now continuing on, feeling, sensing, experiencing how that energy flows back up through the bottoms of the feet, in through the ankles, the lower legs, knees, the thighs, hips, and then merge, blending, kind of bending back and coming back to that little ball of light in the lower abdomen. Rivers of crystalline light flowing deep into the center of your beingness. Home of body, blending with home of earth. And let's just stop there for this practice. Just notice, allow yourself to come back. There's no grounding, extra grounding that's needed because this is ultimate grounding. So just allowing yourself to open your eyes when that feels comfortable for you, taking some deep breaths, maybe moving, the end parts of your body, wiggling the toes, bringing motion to the hands. And just noticing what that's like for you.
Yeah, for me, that was so calming.
Mhm.
Very, yeah, grounding for sure, but just in general, very calming, peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah. When we're connected body to earth body, that home is so sturdy. Our nervous system quiets, our mind quiets. And we could go on and continue up in the Hara, but I think this experience of being grounded body to body to earth, is something that we are really being called to remember right now culturally, as we see um, the climate crisis around us, when we see our systemic racism, capitalism, all the isms that keep us from acknowledging the importance of reconciling the relationship between body and body. Is it body and earth, body and another beautiful being who walks in their own walk here? This is an enormously important framework for grounding during these times as we're up leveling our consciousness to acknowledge the soul of each other. Yeah, and it's good to feel how calm that is, because there's been so much force, necessary force, but there's also the peaceful warrior way. And this is a really beautiful way at presence of self and presence of other.
That's a very, very powerful practice. I received so much from just those few moments. So I want to thank you, Amelia, for showing us and guiding us in that. Such important work. So when we did that exercise, you mentioned the 3 primary nodes of the Hara. So we worked with, that would be one node, right? And then there's
Yeah. And then we would go on, if we wanted to explore that practice more. But you know what? I'm somebody who really appreciates, like, let's take it bit by bit. We don't have to bite off the whole, I almost said watermelon because I love watermelon, but we don't have to eat the whole meal at once. Let's savor, let's slow down, let's learn to focus. But you're right, you would go again and balance, connect to first the soul seat, the seat of longings, the seat of purpose, connect that down to the center of the earth and back up, and the individuation point, the point that we individuate from the all that is, and bring that down and up, and really just sit in the beauty of who we are. But I encourage you, if you're listening, to really practice that first step, because when we go too fast or we want to bite off the whole enchilada, I must be hungry. you know I just think there's real value in practicing one bit at a time. It's very homing. Then we can give this practice the attention and intention that really I think it deserves, because it's a really different system. And for the intention is for our personal healing is to be able to hold the frequency. So if we start skipping ahead and we're missing that first step, that foundational step, like if we're going up in the elevator, we have to go through floor 1 to get through floor 2 and 3. So
we got to respect the levels, we got to respect the process, and like you said, attention and intention. And the self-mastery journey, right? It is really step by step, and honoring those steps, and what we call time. Bruce Lee said, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. So I'm with you on that, Amelia, that taking our time, honoring that time. Thank you so much for showing and guiding us in that. That was beautiful.
Oh, my pleasure. And I just thought of one more thing I could add to that, just sort of, I don't want to call it a soapbox, but perhaps it really was. But the Hara allows us some really fantastic spiritual gifts. Manifesting. We all want to be able to manifest money, the signs that we need from the universe that we're on the right path, manifest skills, manifest our evolutionary capacity, that comes in this first node. So even practicing that, a well of energy. I was telling you before we started, I haven't slept in a few days. We have a new puppy. Boom, you're in that Hara. It doesn't matter if you haven't slept, you're here. You know, if you're feeling sluggish or sick, it's going to bring you that healing, that physical healing, the energy of that, like the vitality of that, so that you can kind of draw on that larger well of energy that is you extended into this greater home that is you. So there are multiple just amazing benefits of doing this first level of practice.
Thank you for that tidbit there. And that kind of brings me with one other question. And when we're talking about that specific node of the three primary of the Hara, working with that one, how does that relate to sacral chakra? Because I notice a lot of the attributes, creative energy, when we're talking about manifestation and all of that, very similar.
Oh, I love this question. And I wish I had another pin to illustrate this, but I'm going to use my hand. So when we're talking about dimensions of the energy system, we're talking about frequencies. We're talking about kind of, I hate to use the word level, because these frequencies interpenetrate themselves. But the Hara is sort of the foundational energy that carries the soul essence. From that, so if we look at our evolutionary journey here, we start, and I'm going to simplify, we start as a star that has a special configuration. And that special configuration is seated with this beautiful spiritual purpose. And it is seated with this beautiful template of your body. It then comes and anchors into the earth, where it kind of expands in frequency, because it's super fast in spirit form. And then we've got to get all these codes slowed down enough so that it could fit in this physical body, or, as we expand out through the other systems. What the Hara does is it allows our core light essence to be translated in frequency so that the chakra system can carry it and hold it and channel it. So when we say the chakra system allows our innermost being to be to flow outward to the world, how is it that we're stepping down that really great fast frequency to then express through the chakra system? The Hara does that. So it's actually like, if you think of the Hara here, the chakra system maybe below it, it's a little slower, meridians a little slower still, and then the Nadi and the Dantian systems have their own piece in there, which we could talk about for another couple of days. So think of it as a step down converter.
Gotcha. That is so helpful. Just being able to kind of, get that anatomy and how everything fits together. Thank you so much for the clarity on that, Amelia. Well, that was amazing. So we talked about so much, and I always wish we had so much more time. And I'm like, time flies when you're having fun. That was amazing. So given what we've talked about, given what you've talked about, Amelia, what's one thing that you'd like to leave us with today, or as a next step to our listeners, what we can do to, make changes in our own lives?
Well, I think practicing that practice of giving yourself opportunities for grace, realizing that each of us have created our own mechanisms of managing our life. Fight, flight, freeze, appease, disassociate. Those might sound familiar in the kind of the trauma world. But these are ways that we manage our essence when we come to the world. And so if you find that you're in the world just really fighting your way through that, that's exhausting. So grounding yourself through the lower dantian down to the earth will help, give you more resource for that. And then adding in grace, you might be thinking, God, why do I have to fight so much? It's sort of addressing those core patterns. Why do I not feel lovable or included or like I belong? And then we offer ourselves grace, knowing that whatever is in the way of those connections is because those coping mechanisms they're there to keep us safe. And you created that mechanism of safety because you love yourself. And so extending that love of self through grace, I think, is a really beautiful awareness and practice. And that will help open up the channel of the Hara and help kind of allow that light that you are to shine out in the world.
Thank you so much, Amelia, for those wise words. So what's another way that we can connect with this practice of working with the Hara?
Well, if you're interested in exploring the other nodes, interested in exploring more of the relationship between the Hara and our our trauma selves, I'm teaching a class this fall. Well, kind of fall winter, starts November 21st, but I have a free course coming up, an intro on November 10th, which you're welcome to join. That might be an opportunity to go even deeper. It's an hour and a half. So instead of this short talk, we can go a little deeper together and you can ask me questions live. So I welcome you to that class. I think it's a really important moment to start speaking soul to soul. And you can find that at ameliavogler.com/Hara, Hara.
Thank you so much, Amelia, for sharing your participation, your words of wisdom, everything during the session. What an amazing session with Amelia Vogler. I want to thank you all so much for listening.